The human body is an instrument, but most of us have forgotten how to play it. We've been told that ancient folk songs, the dinas, are just simple poems, relics of a peasant past. But that explanation is a hollow mask for a much deeper reality. When you look at the mathematical structure of these chants, they don't look like literature. They look like code. Specifically, an audio algorithm designed to synchronize the human nervous system. New insights into sound healing and vagus nerve stimulation suggest our ancestors weren't just singing, they were biohacking. From the sacred groves of the Baltic to the deep jungles of the Amazon, the technology of resonance has left a trail that leads directly into our DNA. This is the story of the ancient Spotify, a frequency archive built to engineer the human state of being. And by the end of this, you'll understand why the most powerful technology you own is your own voice.
Our ancestors faced a cosmic problem: how to preserve a massive volume of critical information across millennia without paper, which decays, or stone, which is difficult to transport. Their solution was to encode it into the human mind. They realized that for information to survive, it had to become a living part of the carrier. To achieve this, they developed a high-fidelity biological storage system. By using a rigid mathematical structure, the trochaic meter, the ancestors created an information checksum where any error would break the rhythm, alerting the carrier. The pioneer of decoding this system was Christianus Barons. In the late 19th century, he acted as the lead architect, collecting and indexing 218,000 unique base codes into the world-renowned Dinu Scapis, the Cabinet of Folk Songs, which is included in UNESCO World Heritage. Today, this work has expanded into a global scale. The archives of Latvian folklore now manage a staggering repository of over 1.2 million entries. This is no longer just folklore, evolved from one of the most sophisticated, decentralized live memory databases on Earth into a modern digital fortress.
But why was this mathematical precision so vital in retaining dinas? In modern neuroscience, we study a phenomenon known as rhythmic entrainment, the process where the brain's internal oscillations align with an external rhythmic stimulus. When we listen to a steady, repetitive beat, our neurons begin to fire in symphony with that rhythm. The four-line structure of the dina serves as a low-frequency oscillator, a rhythmic engine designed to bypass the analytical, ego-driven mind. Research into altered states of consciousness suggests that specific frequencies can shift brainwave activity from the high-frequency beta state, associated with daily stress and logical processing, into the deeper alpha and theta states. These are the states of peak creativity, cellular healing, and subconscious access. By chanting these texts for extended periods, our ancestors were effectively performing a rhythmic hack on their own nervous systems. They weren't just reciting poetry, they were using a frequency delivery system to down-regulate the stress response and open a gateway to the deeper layers of the biocomputer, long before the term meditation reached the Western world.
If the mathematical meter of the dina is the hardware, then its phonetics are the software. In the ancient Baltic language, each vowel and consonant wasn't just a building block of a word, it was a specific vibrational signature. When these sounds are combined in precise, repetitive sequences, they form what we can describe as audio algorithms. Just as a specific line of code executes a command in a computer, a specific dina was executed to achieve a targeted biological or environmental result. Consider the resonance of the Latvian L or the vibrating R. These aren't accidental phonemes.
They are tools for creating standing waves within the human skull. By chanting these specific sound clusters, our ancestors could trigger neurochemical releases, slow the heart rate, or induce a state of intense focus. The Dinu Scapis is, in reality, a library of functional software for the human biocomputer. It is a legacy that suggests we don't need external silicon chips to upgrade our consciousness. We only need to reboot the frequency-based operating system that has been humming in our collective memory for millennia.
To see the Baltic code as a global technology, we must look halfway across the world to the deep jungles of the Amazon. There, the indigenous Shipibo and Mestizo shamans use a system of medicine called Ikaros, sacred songs that are whispered or sung during healing rituals. On the surface, the Amazon and the Baltic have nothing in common, but structurally, the similarities are haunting. Just like the Dina, an Ikaro is not valued for its melody, but for its geometric vibration. Shamans describe these songs as patterns that restructure the patient's energetic field. Both traditions use a highly repetitive, rhythmic structure that aims to induce a specific neurobiological state. In the Amazon, it is used to navigate the visions of ayahuasca. In the Baltic, it was used to navigate the Velu likes, or the cycles of nature. This suggests that the use of sound as a structural tool for consciousness isn't a local folk tradition, it is a lost global science. It is a universal human technology that our ancestors, separated by oceans, discovered independently. The understanding that the right frequency can act as a bridge between the physical body and the information fields of the universe.
The connection between the Baltic and the Amazon goes even deeper when we look at how sound is translated into visual form. In the Amazon, the Shipibo people literally paint the songs they hear. Their intricate geometric pottery and textiles are visual scores of the Ikaros. If you know how to read the pattern, you can sing the song. This is identical to the logic found in the Baltic tradition, most notably in the Lielvārde belt. These patterns are not merely decorative, they are data visualizations. When sound is passed through a medium like water or sand, it creates geometric shapes known as cymatics. The complex ornaments of the Baltic runes and belts may be the solidified frequency of the Dinas. Our ancestors understood that sound is the architect of form. By weaving these patterns, or wearing them, they were surrounding themselves with the visual resonance of the protective or healing code they sang. They lived in a world where music, geometry, and physical reality were a single integrated system, a world where a song could be worn and a pattern could be heard.
If this technology was so universal, why did it vanish from the global stage? As the world moved toward a purely materialist worldview, the understanding of vibrational medicine was pushed to the fringes, labeled as mere superstition or primitive folklore. The industrial era valued the written word and static structures over the fluid, living archive of the human voice. But today, the tide is turning. Modern research into the global hum and Earth's natural frequency, the Schumann resonance, suggests that our biological systems are designed to be in constant dialogue with external vibrations. Scientists are now discovering that sound can literally switch genes on and off through a process called mechanotransduction. This brings us back to the Baltic and the Amazon. What we once dismissed as singing was actually a sophisticated interface with our own cellular biology. We are rediscovering a forgotten global truth that the human body is not a machine, but a bioacoustic resonator. The Baltic Code and the Amazonian Ikaros are the surviving manuals for this resonator, reminding us that we can reclaim our health and our connection to the planet by
by simply finding the right frequency once again.
To find the physical bridge between a Baltic diner and biological health, we must look at the vagus nerve, the longest nerve of the autonomic nervous system. This nerve acts as a bidirectional highway between the brain and the vital organs, regulating heart rate, digestion, and the immune response. One of the most effective ways to stimulate this nerve is through the vocal cords. The vibration of chanting, humming, or deep singing physically triggers the vagus nerve, signaling the body to exit the fight or flight mode and enter a state of deep repair. Our ancestors understood this physiological hack without needing a laboratory. The specific resonant frequencies required to activate the vagus nerve are precisely those found in the humming and elongated vowels of traditional Baltic chanting. By engaging in collective singing, they weren't just practicing a ritual, they were performing a massive synchronized downregulation of the community's collective stress. The diner was a deliberate tool used to manipulate the nervous system, turning the human voice into a surgical instrument for emotional and biological regulation.
If sound can regulate our nerves, can it also reach deeper into the very blueprint of our life? Emergent research in the field of cymatics and epigenetics suggests that cell membranes act as liquid crystal resonators, sensitive to the smallest vibrational shifts. This means that the acoustic environment we inhabit literally shapes the expression of our genes. Epigenetics has proven that our environment and lifestyle choices can turn certain genetic markers on or off without changing the DNA sequence itself. The Baltic diner, with its relentless crystalline repetition, may have functioned as an epigenetic stabilizer. By chanting these specific harmonic structures, our ancestors were providing their cells with a coherent vibrational diet. This wasn't just about culture, it was about biological survival. They were using sound to ensure that the stress of war, famine, or cold didn't hard-code trauma into their lineage. They were singing to keep their DNA tuned to the frequency of health and resilience, passing down not just stories, but a biologically optimized state of being to the next generation. The ultimate expression of this frequency-based technology isn't found in a solo performance, but in collective resonance. When a large group of people chants the same rhythmic code together, something extraordinary happens to the local field. Their heart rates begin to synchronize, and their brainwaves lock into a shared frequency, a phenomenon known as collective coherence. In Latvia, the tradition of the Song and Dance Festival, where tens of thousands sing in unison, is often described as a spiritual experience, but it may actually be a massive, organized synchronization of the national biofield. This is the living anthem, a state where the individual ego dissolves into a unified acoustic wave. By singing together, our ancestors were creating a protective shield of resonance that could stabilize the emotional state of an entire tribe. They understood that a unified frequency is harder to break than an isolated one. This collective biohacking wasn't just for celebration, it was a survival strategy to maintain social cohesion and psychological resilience against external threats. It is a reminder that when we align our voices, we aren't just making noise, we are engineering the very fabric of our shared reality. As we have seen, the Baltic diner is far more than a fragment of folklore. It is a sophisticated protocol for human optimization. We have traced its path from a massive, decentralized data archive to a rhythmic engine for neurological entrainment, and finally to a global acoustic science shared with the shamans of the Amazon. The myth of the singing nation is actually a memory of a technological nation, one that understood that the most direct way to edit reality is through the frequency of the human voice. By reframing these ancient chants as audio algorithms, we move from being passive observers of history to active users of a legacy system. We are standing at a unique crossroads where modern biohacking and ancient wisdom converge. The realization is simple, yet profound. The tools for our biological and emotional sovereignty were never lost. They were simply waiting for us to stop reading them as literature and start running them as code. It is time to look at the cabinet of folk songs, not as a museum, but as a server room, ready for a new generation of users to hit play.
To see this code in action, we need only to look at one of the most fundamental quatrains in the entire archive. Saule brautsa aukstu kalno, es pa kalno nepapio. On the surface, it's a simple observation of the sun crossing the sky. But when we run the Baltic cipher, a deeper instruction set emerges. The phonetics of this dyna are dominated by open, resonant vowels, the A and U, which, when chanted in a steady 4/4 trochaic meter, create a standing wave that vibrates the chest and the upper sinus cavities. This is a specific audio algorithm for solar entrainment. It was designed to be executed at dawn or dusk, using the vocal resonance to bridge the gap between the body's circadian rhythm and the Earth's light cycles. The high mountain isn't just a physical hill, it's a metaphor for the peak state of consciousness, the gamma state, where the brain is fully illuminated. By not remaining behind the mountain, the practitioner is instructing their biology to stay in synchronization with the rising energy of the sun, preventing the darkness of depression or stagnation. This is functional software for hormonal regulation, hidden in a 4-line poem.
The cabinet of folk songs is not a static relic of the past. It is a living, breathing interface for the future. By reclaiming the dyna as an audio algorithm, we stop being victims of a high-stress, fragmented world and start becoming the architects of our own internal resonance. Your voice is the bridge, your breath is the fuel, and the frequency you choose to broadcast today will determine the biological reality you inhabit tomorrow. As we integrate this ancient Baltic technology with modern biohacking, the boundary between myth and science finally dissolves. We realize that the Baltic code was never about the words themselves. It was about the state of being those words create. If you can master your frequency, you can master your life. So as you step back into the world, remember, every sound you make is a command to your cells. Choose your code wisely, because as we've seen, the human body is an instrument, and most of us have just forgotten how to play it.